Today, we look at the API 525 compressor and the secret setting that it has. Thanks for joining me at Smith Music. My name is Paul Smith, and I bring you in the studio and backstage, as well as do gear reviews and show musicians how to build music careers. The API 525 is a classic compressor. I've owned this compressor for about 8 years, and I continue to be impressed with it. The operation is a little odd compared to other compressors, but with some time, I think most people would find some great uses for it. My favorite uses for this compressor are on vocals and room mics. I haven't found anything that I put it on that I don't enjoy it, to be quite honest. Here's the pros and cons. It has a ton of character. It will thicken vocals and add a nice saturation to any source that needs some taming. It has a limited control, but most settings sound great. Your job is simply to choose the best setting from the great choices. It's one of my favorite sounding compressors. Here's the cons. It's a little complex to gain stage with the auto makeup circuit and the input-output knobs. Once I wrapped my head around it, it's been fine. It has a fixed attack, which generally sounds good, but I'd love to be able to adjust it. The API 2025 op-amp circuit sounds amazing, but they fail more frequently than I'd like. API has been great about sending out replacements anytime I need them. I was told of a trick for API gear. If you have a replacement 2025 op-amp, you can swap it out, and then after the flawed one sits for a few weeks, it'll continue to function. I'm not sure why this works this way, but at least there's a workaround. Here's the kick and the snare raw. Lots of hi-hat bleed in that snare. So I just used some drum leveler to get rid of that and to tighten up the kick. The kick is actually like a kick in and out mixed together. Both of those are going to be sent out to the hardware. Just a little bit of EQ and a little bit of enveloper. Not a ton of stuff going on here. With the 525 compressor, I'm pretty partial to this compressor and pretty biased. I'm not going to lie about that. I don't typically use it on individual drum sources. People don't usually recommend it for that. I kind of believe that if this was the only compressor that I had, if I had a whole bunch of them, I'd be fine. It's been a long time since I've tried them on individual kick and snare, so let's see what happens. So the trick with this compressor is to engage it with just a little bit of compression on it and set your input just so that you're getting a touch of gain reduction on the meter. And then, if you want more compression, turn up. Now that's at 2-to-1. Let's go 20-to-1. Now here's the secret mode for the 525. I don't talk about being able to press in both the 2-to-1 and 20-to-1. And sometimes that sounds much better. In fact, I asked them about it in an email, and I think they didn't even know what I meant by that. But able to control the decay for a pretty limited compressor. I think that sounds pretty cool. If you're finding this video helpful, I'd really appreciate you liking the video and subscribing to the channel. Here's the 20-to-1 again. With both. There's a 2-to-1. 20 to 1. Both. Maybe my ears are playing tricks on me and it just defaults to the 20 to 1. But that's not the worst compressor I've ever heard on kick drum. It's got this crunchy distortion thing going on. Okay, let's try just snare. Okay, so we're going to try 2 to 1 to start. Twenty to 1. You can get a bit of snap out of that. Love how you can just crush it. Not as versatile as the Tone Lux, but definitely cool sounding, especially when you hear the decay. Kind of sounds really airy. Now, one thing I do like this for is room mics. Here's the original room mic. Not sure why this was recorded so low, so I just used some gain plugin to get it up to proper level. And then I used drum leveler side chained to the snare just to pull only the snare out. And now we're going to give this a shot. Let's try 2 to 1. Pretty long decay. Let's try 20 to 1. Now let's try both. Nice and crunchy. So lots of different options on that one. If you really need a crunchy source, it's good. At some point, I'll show you this one on vocals because this is probably it's my favorite vocal compressor. I use multi-bus compression for vocals, but that's definitely my favorite application for it. Really nice compressor, not purpose built for drums, and it's really a fantastic compressor for thickening things up, though. Guitars, lots of kind of instruments. So I usually have an instrument bus that's like bass guitar. It's wonderful on keys, guitars, all that kind of stuff. Piano, and then vocals. Not so much for percussion, although for room mics, things like that, it can be really stellar. But for kick and snare and toms, I'd be looking elsewhere. I'm a little bit disappointed about that because I wanted to love it on there because I'm very partial to this compressor. And it doesn't suck on that stuff. It definitely has a thing. Just wouldn't be my go-to. If you have questions about the API 525, post them in the comments and I'll be glad to answer them. To find links to any equipment or software used in this video, check out the description.